Hey guys, what's going on? Welcome to another HEX Update Saturday for December 21st, 2013. I'm Jake Freedom, and here's what's happened the past week. Of course, we had another patch rollout, patch 818, and in this patch here, we've had some new cards introduced, which are pretty exciting. Also, we've had some general fixes in the game and some other gameplay additives here. Let's go ahead and take a look and see what they've done and go over the patch notes from Cryptozoic there on the HEX development team. So the first thing that they have mentioned in the patch notes is under tournaments. They've implemented some more stability fixes for the tournament. So hopefully that means, when other opponents are playing in other games there, you start out with the round of 4 or the round of 8 there, I guess I should say. If somebody drops out or bugs out, maybe the tournament won't fail to continue after that. I haven't been in a tournament since they've implemented this patch here. I've been busy with other things going on with work and life in general, so I'm not sure what the stability fixes that for the tournaments, what they've implemented there. So hopefully they're good things, and we'll find out here in a couple short days. Some other general things that they did to the game here is the user not online. The message from chat no longer has 2 exclamation points. Let's see, quantity icons in the card manager have had a UI update. We've begun. They say here we've begun to update the UI throughout the client with scroll bars, and they have. That's a nice thing that they're doing there. Also, you should no longer be able to get chat into state where you see HTML. I personally have not been able to get chat in this particular state here, but what I have noticed sometimes after tournaments, if the tournament bugs out or something like along those lines there, the chat comes into this cryptic state, but it's not HTML state. It's like the chat box is broken into 2 pieces, and the chat's off to like one side, and like the headers and the scroll bars are off to the side or whatnot. Not the HTML bug that they're talking about here, but still in an unknown state of chat. And when you have the chat in that state, your tournament has bugged out and your game client's going to need to be restarted or something along those lines there. Let's see here. Also, new window frames can be seen throughout the client. As again, I haven't had a whole lot of time to play the game since the patch, so I'm not sure what they're meaning by new window frames can be seen throughout the client there. I wish I could show you here, but I just can't. Here's a couple of them. They look like they've changed this a little bit. They used to have the little more graphic design around the borders of the actual windows here. Kind of something similar. They've changed this one out here too as well. They kind of had the whole little medieval rustic looking type of thing there. So it looks like they've changed that a little bit there as well. Also, there is no longer a priority window during prep phase. This here, some people think this could be an issue, and it was kind of sprung upon the community without warning, basically. And some people actually use the prep phase as part of their strategy. And some people are complaining that now that the prep phase is gone, that you don't have the priority during your prep phase, that it's going to affect the game itself. Basically, what CZE has come back and said is that they're just testing things out. This is alpha. We want to test out how the gameplay works through this with missing the prep phase. Like before, they took away some, back 5 weeks ago they took away triggered abilities going up onto the chain. Well, they brought some of that back. They just wanted to test it out to see how well it worked. Well, this time here, now we're taking away the pass priority step during the prep phase. They just want to see how it's going to work, how people are going to react to it. How is the gameplay going to, evolve from, getting rid of the priority prep phase. So it may not be a permanent change, and it may well be a permanent change. We never know. It depends on the feedback from the community here. But so far, from what I've read on the forums, as the feedback isn't that positive. So I'm pretty sure that the pass priority part of the prep phase will probably come back into the game in a future patch. That's just my guess there. So we'll see what time has to say when it comes to that there. Okay, onto some gameplay changes here. They've updated some of the gems here, it looks like. Let's see. The first one is Prime Wild Orb of Dominance no longer ignores threshold requirements and activates correctly. Prime Diamond of Solidarity now triggers correctly. Prime Blood Orb of Brutality now has the correct game text. Also, a card update looks like they got when Mancubus was having some problems here. Now it says when Mancubus steals a card, it will no longer also incorrectly steal cards created by that card. So they've got that fixed there. And another card that was having some problems, it looks like the Immortal Spear artifact. The sliver of the Immortal Spear now correctly requires 5 slivers of the Immortal Spears to activate the nuclear option. Also, Research Adapt no longer will go on the chain when there are no artifacts in play as Research Adapt comes into play. I've never played that card, so I'm not quite sure how the mechanic on that one was broken or not. Oh, let's see. Also, Research Librarian now correctly exhausts when it uses its ability. So that's good. Obviously, it wasn't doing that before. So, on to some new cards here. This is always the exciting part of the patches since they release new cards every week, and this is the part I look forward to the most. So, let's start out with the first new card here. First new card is Crown of the Primals. This is a 5-cost, 3 ruby threshold constant. And its card text says, one shot. It costs 1 resource. Target troop you control gets permanent crush, speed, swift strike, and rage 4. When that troop leaves play, revert the constant. That is pretty good card there. Now, from what you can actually give an actual troop there for, obviously it takes 3 threshold, 5 resources, and it only takes one resource point to actually do this on this constant. And once that troop that you affect is removed, the constant then comes back. The way I read this card is the constant will then revert back to the 1 shot again. So you can't just keep giving a bunch of troops 1 shot, 1 shot, 1 shot. So it could be a good, for what you get out of it, you get Crush, Speed, Swift Strike, and Rage 4. That is huge right there. I don't see this card being too much of an issue for people talking about or anything like that. So that's a very good card there. I think the resource cost and the threshold is right on, so I'm not going to disagree with that one at all there. We can go ahead and pull this card up in the card manager. Just take a look at it so you can see the card art and whatnot. Let's go ahead and let's see here. Gotta get the right keyboard that I need here. All right, Crown of the Primal. So here's its card art here. It's actually pretty cool. I like it there, and you can see the card text there. So basically, that's the way I read this card here. So once you activate the 1 shot on the troop, once that troop leaves, you'll be able to actually do that again to another troop. That's the way I read the card. I'm sorry. I think I said Rage 4. This is actually Rage 3. So that's the way I read the card. I think it plays out that way. I don't know. I haven't tested the card yet, so we'll find out there. I'll definitely find out and see how that plays out. So the next card that we're going to talk about is the Infernal Professor. It's a blood card. It's got 2 resource costs, 1 mana threshold, and it is a basic action. Its card text says, put a random non-resource card from your deck into your hand. It then gets permanent cost -2, and here's the kicker of this card. And at the start of your turn, if this card is in your hand, it deals 2 damage to you. So basically, what it's saying is you don't want to hang on to this card too long, or else it's going to start dealing damage to you. Similar to what's the other blood card that deals damage? I forget off the top of my head. So let's just take a look at its card art here. And so here we are. Like I said, 2 resource points, 1 blood threshold. Kind of a little neat little devilish looking guy there. But so there you go. So you put a random non-resource card from your deck into your hand. It gets permanent, -2, and at the start of your turn, it's going to deal 2 damage to you. Now, there is kind of an issue with this card right now. It's kind of got a bug to it, and what happens is it can sometimes pull out the Shards of Fate card, which is a resource card, but for some reason it's acting like it's not a resource card. And then when you have the Shards of Fate card in your hand, even after you play it, it seems like it's still doing damage to you, along with a few other cards too that it's doing that too once you actually play them. So CZE is aware of it, and the engineers are working towards a fix to correct the problem there. So not a huge deal right now. They're getting it fixed. So the next card we got here is Princess Victoria. She is a diamond card. Let's pull her up here. Princess Victoria. 3 resources, 1 diamond threshold. She is a troop, human princess. She has life drain on her. And the cool thing about her is if Victoria is in your opening hand, she gets permanent cost -3. So basically she becomes a free card to play once, or if she is in your opening hand, which is very cool. She's a very strong card. She's only a 1/2, but she also is an inspiration card, and the inspire on her is as other troops with cost equal to or greater than Victoria's cost enter play under your control, it gets permanent life drain. I can see this being used heavily across the meta game when it comes to health gain decks, especially the deck that I play somewhat with Ozawa, where everything's based off of health gain. I mean, this would be a cheap card to get out, and then everything after that you play is basically going to be, there's 3 cost or greater. A lot of the troops in that particular deck there. I know it's not a troop heavy deck that I got, but anything you can give life drain to ramp up your life on your champion is even the better. So I can see this card becoming very useful in that actual deck there, if you can get her out for free. So I don't know if when you play it, if it does have the cost -3, if it comes 0 of every other card, if it's based off of 0 then, so every card you bring out after that it's going to be affected by it, or if it's still going to use its base cost of 3. Haven't played the card yet, but we'll soon find out how she actually works. Now, there has been some reports that she's not working correctly. And basically what some people are saying that is when she is in your opening hand, she's not getting the -3 cost. So she's still costing the 3 resource points instead of, being free basically. So, and again, CZE is aware of the issue, and the engineers are again working on a fix for the card. So hopefully they'll get that out sooner or later here. And let's see, the next card we're going to talk about is Rocket Ranger. Rocket Ranger is a Ruby card. Let me pull him up here. And let's see here, Rocket Ranger. This card is an interesting card. It's got a lot of card text to it. He is a 3 cost, 1 ruby threshold. He's a troop. He's a dwarf ranger. And it's kind of neat here. Its card text reads, while you control 2 or more artifacts, this troop gets flight. That's pretty cool. Flight can be powerful. Also, it says, while you control 4 or more artifacts, this troop gets +2/+2. So now he's a 4. He could be a 4/4 with flight. And then the third portion of its card text is, while you control 6 or more artifacts, when this troop attacks, it deals 4 damage to target opposing champion. So not only is it going to deal 4 damage to the troop that it's going to attack, excuse me, the troop that it's attacking or troop that's blocking it, or say if nobody blocks it, it's going to deal its 4 damage, and then on top of that, it's going to deal 4 more damage. So very powerful card there. I personally think 3 costs, 1 ruby threshold. I think that's a pretty cheap for this card here. Based on what it does. I know it's only a 2/2, but it has a lot of stuff going on in its card text. Now, granted, you are going to have 6 artifacts out or more, so you're probably going to have to be running a deck that's using like the volcano cannon, whatever, to be able to even have the 6 or more artifacts out there. But still 3 cost, 1 threshold, I think that's pretty good. I think that's right in line with the cards that I like to see out there. It's not overpriced or anything like that at all. So good card. I like that one. I like that one a lot. Next card that we're going to look at here is Mistborn Wendigo. pull her up here, her or him, whatever you want to call it here. Sapphire card. I'm not sure. You can call us a, him, her, whatever you want to do it. Mr. Wendigo, 5 costs, 1 sapphire threshold. It's a spirit troop. It is a socketable miner. It is a 1/5, and its ability here is for 1 resource point. You can switch this troop's attack and defense this turn. So basically, you can turn it into a 5/1 for 1 resource point there. With the right gem in it, I think it could be a good card. For being a 1/5, 5 costs. I think it's a little overpriced. But I think if you tailor, like I said, if you get the right gem in there and you tailor your deck around that particular gem, I think you might, you could be all right. But outside of that, little pricey for me. I don't know if I'll use this card much. I'll test it out for sure, but I don't see this card here being used all that much. So let's go on to the next card here. The next card here is another Sapphire card. And this one here is, I'm going to say Cerulean Grand Strategist. I'm not sure if that's how you actually pronounce it, but that's how I'm going to pronounce it. So another Sapphire card, 1 cost, 1 threshold, is a human warrior troop, and it's an inspiration card. Its card text reads, as another troop with cost equal to or greater than this troop cost enters play under your control, it gets permanent. Exhaust target troop with attack less than this troop's attack. Okay. Obviously, 1 attack isn't going to exhaust a whole lot of troops, so you're going to have to be able to buff this card some to be able to do any valid, damage or, do anything valid with it, because there's, because it has to be, it has to be exhaust target troops with attack less than this troop's attack. Okay, so if you leave them at 1, basically all you're going to be able to do is exhaust like 01 cards or like the 04 diamond blocker card or whatever there. So by himself, he's not very powerful. Granted, he's cheap, 1 cost, 1 threshold. If you pump him up some with some buff cards, I think he could come in very handy. Again, not sure if, this one will get a lot of use. I'm trying to think of a lot of cards. I'm trying to think of some cards in the Sapphire deck that give buffs. And all right, so after I was going through this video and doing the editing on it, I realized I didn't read the card text wrong, but I was reading the card text as using this particular troop here as what it has to do for its exhausting capabilities, and I was completely wrong in there. So basically what it is when other troops enter the field with the cost equal to or greater than this troop here, this 1/1, it gets the ability to exhaust a target troop with its attack less than this troop here. It's worded so weird that it makes you think that they're talking about this troop, but when they say this troop, they're meaning the troop that this card here, that the Cerulean, I'll just call him the Strategist. They're talking about the card that the Strategist inspires. So if you bring in a 5/5 card and he's inspired by this guy, they're talking about that card there can then exhaust cards with less than 5 attack there. So you could exhaust 4, 3, 2, 1 cards. You can just pick one and then you can exhaust it that way. Not this particular card's attack in itself. So that was my fault there, and this is the correction. So that's how this card actually works. So next card we're going to talk about is Dream Dance. Another Sapphire card here. 3 cost, 1 Sapphire threshold, basic action, and its card text reads, troop in your deck gets permanent. When this troop enters play, draw a card, then choose and discard a card. So basically you play this card here, all of your cards in your deck get the text, when this troop enters play, draw a card, then choose and discard a card. Great card if you're running a mill deck. Unfortunately, you do have to discard a card, and sometimes you always don't want to discard a card. So it's kind of 6 to 1, half a dozen to the other, depending on what you want to do. This kind of reminds me of Secret Laboratory, where you can draw a card and then you discard a card. This basically gives it to you for 3, and it's a permanent, where Secret Laboratory costs 1 and discard a card. So it's kind of up in the air and which one you want to play. I don't know. I think this one will make its way into the meta mill deck, though, to be honest with you. Decent card, not too overly, not overpriced at all, I don't think. 3 cost, give all your cards that, and 1 threshold, simple, get it out quick, and then you can go from there. So I like that card. I think it'll get used a lot myself. Let's see. Last but not least, we have a wild card that came in this patch here. I don't know if wild cards have come out much at all or not. He's a pretty powerful guy here. He is I'm going to call him Jadim. He's a dragon, 5 cost, 3 threshold. So he's quite expensive. He's up there with the Fist of Brigadon and Battle Beetle and whatnot. He's a dragon troop, like I said. He has flight. He is a flyer. And this is where it comes interesting. When you play a non-resource card, Jadim gets permanent +X, where X is that card's cost. I've ran this in a deck, but I haven't been able to pull them out yet. And what I'm curious to see is if it's additive. So like, okay, let's say I play a card down that has 2 costs. Say I play down a 2/1 card. Now does he become a 7/6 flyer? And then say the next turn here I play down I put down like a 3/2, or what happens when we throw down like a honey cap when you have 11 threshold out? Does he all of a sudden become a 16/16 flyer? I don't know. I haven't tried. I tried to get him out the other day, but I just couldn't get him out there. So I think this card here is going to be very popular. I think this is definitely going to come into the meta. The meta mono wild deck for sure. I think this might even replace Battle Beetle. Unfortunately, he's not socketable, so you can't give him Spell Shield, but you can pump him up super well if he is going to be affected the way I think he's going to be affected with the honey cap. If you pull out a honey cap, like I said, even a 10/10 honey cap, he's going to become a 15/15 flyer, and that could be tough to deal with, and especially if you can get him out early. Granted, he has 5 resource points, 3 threshold, but with Halloween Brave and Chlorophilia out on the table, I don't think he's going to be a problem at all. You could probably get this guy out as early as if you want to play honey cap first. Let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, you could bring a honey cap out. I think you can bring a honey cap out as early as turn 4 with 5/5, if I'm not mistaken. And so let's see, if you brought him out first, he'd come out on like turn 3 or 4, bring your honey cap out, so you'd have a 10/10 flyer on at least turn 4, turn 5. Powerful. And I'm pretty sure this is definitely going to make it into the meta mono wild deck for sure. I like this card here. I don't think he's overpriced at all for what he does and what he can do. So I like that one. I like that one a lot. So that's all. We have new cards there for this week here, and the rest of the patch notes, they have a couple known issues. Basically, is the new cards don't always cards don't always highlight properly in your hand when they're legal to play. This has been an issue for a while, especially when you play the Shards of Fate card. I've noticed if you play the Shards of Fate, since the Shards of Fate doesn't bump your resources, it just bumps your threshold, even though you might meet the threshold and your resources have already been met. And the cards don't have the little highlighted, glowy flame around them. Well, now they've identified that, and it seems like it's getting worse. They've identified it, though. They're going to fix it. Another known issue is when you first patch, the new cards wouldn't show up. A simple fix of closing the game, logging back on, does fix that particular issue there. Also, me and a few others I've seen on the message boards or the forums there have noticed this issue. The very first thing that happened when I patched the game, I fired it up and everything was yellow. The game, I could see the game playing, but everything was a bright, gross Easter egg yellow. You couldn't see anything. It was all contrasted out and everything like that. And I tried to do a fix, I repaired the game. Nothing seemed to work. Somebody suggested, try adjusting your resolution, and I noticed that the resolution was reset back to 1024 by 768. That's not the resolution I play on. So I set it back to 1900 by 1080, whatever it is, and that seemed to correct the issue there. But this is a known bug in the game, and the engineers are aware of it, and they're trying to implement a patch, because if it is a bug with just 1024 by 768, those particular people will not be able to play the game and could cause some issues there. So they are going to roll a patch out soon for that particular issue there. Other than that, that is the patch for this week, and it seems like it's a good patch. I like most of the cards here. Unlike last week, I didn't like a lot of the cards that they rolled out, but this week's cards here, I do like a lot. So I'm excited to use them in some of my decks and see how they actually perform there. Other than that, that's all that's happened. So I hope you enjoyed the video. If you do, give it a thumbs up. If you want to see some more, go ahead and click subscribe below, and I'll have another video for you soon.